Can you tell me anything about your parents?
Well, I come from an old Italian family in San Francisco, old conservative Catholic Italian family. My dad was the youngest of three. They lived over here on Russian Hill when it was a working class neighborhood. My mom was a Navy brat. My folks were really, they loved dancing and they were very good at it. Even when my dad got sick, his last illness, that I have such a nice memory of them dancing. It's so intimate and sweet.
Are there any interesting stories about grade school?
I think the only thing that really strikes me is that it was very, very conservative. And we all have to realize that in a conservative environment, we're lied to. Lies is the basis of conservatism.
How about high school?
I went to Oceana High School in Pacifica. You know, in terms of life at Oceana, a lot of the kids that went to Oceana at that time were primitive kids. They weren't city kids.
Oh.
You know, they were isolated. A lot of redneck, crude behavior. I was always slightly built, small, not athletic. I learned how to run. I learned to run because my father was an abusive alcoholic.
Oh.
And the only way I could survive as a kid was running, was getting always between him and the door. And as soon as I said something, running out the door. Because that was a major part of my youth growing up in Pacifica. My dad was a good man, a hard-working guy. He had a heart of gold. I reconciled with him later. It's one of the great accomplishments of my life, I think, is that I didn't give up on him, but from the very earliest years, 5 and 6 years old, I knew he was unreliable. When I was a kid, I would respond to him as an adult. And I would point out his mistakes. Well, the response to that was a slap across the face. And that grew, the violence grew to full-on punching. And my dad was a boxer in the Navy. He was big. And plus he was a garbage man. In those days they had to pick up everything.
Yes, I remember.
You know? And he was big and he was muscular. My dad was a good person in that he was active in all the community clubs. He would go off to meetings and he'd drink. And he'd come home. And if there was any disturbance in the house, and remember there were 3 boys in my house, there was always something going on. And if he could get near me, he would punch me. I had strategies for getting away. Like I said, I would make sure before I opened my mouth and responded. Like if I was over on this side of the room, I would move to that side of the room so I could run out the door. And that's where I learned how to run. And run for blocks, because he would run after me. Oh yeah. And so I was a long distance runner in high school.
Oh.
With least, I have short legs, but determination.
Did you ever go to college?
I knew, growing up in that house, that the only hope that I had was to get an education and to go beyond what they had accomplished and really develop my brain and learn how to think. So, yeah, I went to USF, the University of San Francisco, here in the city. Undergraduate and law school. As I said earlier, this thing about the conservative Catholic world that I grew up in, though, even over there, if you're talking about the early 70s, it was an island of repression. In this neighborhood, we're in the Castro, revolution was happening, and revolution's a good word, I just mean social change was happening. And a lot of things that were uplifting for people, and a lot of it downright fun. On that side of the hill, exactly the opposite. It was, oh no, we'd never go over there. We weren't really allowed to come to this part of the city. This was where sin was happening. And, we had to avoid the occasion of sin. That's the old Catholic bullshit. Anything they don't agree with becomes sin, and they tell the kids to avoid it. And the kids grow up stupid. You gotta, if any kids are out there, you listening to this, you gotta grow beyond that. Religion is just a way of chaining your hands and your mind so you stay compliant with what the power structure you're in wants you to do. You've got to grow beyond it. Break those chains. And I'm not saying be self-destructive. No. Grow your soul. Grow your body. Become strong. Become smart. Make decisions for yourself. Love yourself. Learn how to love yourself.
I presume that you're gay. That's what I presume, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Can you tell me the story of that, how that developed? And
That relates to the conservative upbringing.
it might be also useful to younger kids who are in that particular environment and not knowing about coming out, how you did and how you managed the whole situation.
Yeah. The most important thing in that is that I knew always that I was going to make my own path. That's the basis of why I survived. Why I survived the abuse of my childhood, and why I survived coming out and all this, and all the way through the HIV plague that we've lived through. I was a good little Catholic boy. I didn't have sex with another human being until I had 2 little flirtations when I was 19. And I didn't really have sex until I was 25, 26, right in that period.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was 8.
I know, and I'm so envious.
Well, go ahead.
That's a healthy response is, a natural response is you don't experiment with sex when you're in your young teen years, or right around there. Nothing. I was so indoctrinated that sex was bad, and just even the thought of it in your head was the presence of the devil tempting you to hell. That's how they taught us. And it's so bad. It's such evil training. Evil. And that's what I want kids to realize, that you've been taught a lot of bullshit that you've got to move beyond. It took me 26 years to have sex. And all through my best physical years, gone. So I met my first lover, David, when I was 26. I was working as a soda jerk at a teen dance on Polk Street in California Hall. A friend of mine ran the teen dances there. And I came out of there late at night, closed it down, cleaned it up. It was like 1:30 or so. Got in my little pickup truck, parked on Polk Street. And this car pulled out. It was at the light at the corner right above. Pulled out, and I waved, because I thought it was a friend of mine from school. And it wasn't. This guy turned and stopped, got out of the car, walked over. I am shaking now. I'm physically shaking. I'm so scared. I'm 25, 26 years old. Fuck! What am I doing? I'm like a child. I'm a little child. That's what it was. That was David G. David became my first love. Taught me how to have sex. Taught me everything. All that inhibition, all those years of being afraid, and, knowing what feels right in my heart and soul, and having this programming in my head that canceled it out. It wasn't until like I was 35-ish, though, that I started getting involved in gay community activities where I could just have fun.
Such as?
I joined Dignity, the gay Catholic group, shortly after that, period when I was 35. And that was a lifesaver for me because there were really intelligent priests around and other people in Dignity who were caring and helped educate me about the truth of Catholic doctrine, and that I didn't have to hate myself as a gay man. In fact, that I should celebrate it. And that I am free. Live your life. Accomplish things in your life. Don't get hung up on rules that are handed down by somebody who's out of touch. And the message here is, to the young people, you have the right and the ability now to have a full and fun, enjoyable life. Take the opportunity. Don't give up. I very easily could have given up because of my abusive dad. And I thought about suicide. And I thought about just not pushing myself through college and out of the closet. And none of those things were acceptable. I would not give up. I know that's just something in my gut that pushed me. And God bless that thing, whatever it is.